have a wonderful problem that we're happy to have. We've got more people on the list than we have time to read, but rather than leave people off the list, I'm going to ask you all to try to keep as short as you can. Definitely under 3 minutes, if you would. Otherwise, we're going to be here until closing. So, thank you for supporting Barnes and Noble, Burning Down the Barnes, and for coming tonight, absolutely. So, just a reminder again, family-friendly event. Careful about your language and act accordingly. So, short, sweet, and we will run through it, and then at the end, we'll bring our featured readers up one more time. Okay, so I've got two. This is a first read for me. It is National Poetry Month, so in honor of National Poetry Month, a short little one. Mentor. It wasn't what was said. It was what was meant. It wasn't what was critiqued. It was what was affirmed. We put our faith in words. In friendship, we put our trust. This thing called poetry, how large its cup, how sweet the taste that fills my soul. So my friend Michael brought to a group recently an article that was in the January-February Poet and Writers magazine called The Hour Between Dog and Wolf. Interesting article. The phrase between the hour of dog and wolf is a French phrase for that time between night and day. So, read the article, thought it was pretty cool and related, and this is what came to me. It's called The Hour Between. I have run with the dogs and wolves, stood between their teeth, taken what nourishment I could find there. In the twin dens, staring up at the stars, I have let the moist root of the earth enter me. The cycles of the moon, the Milky Way, the North Star were all my mother, and with canine teeth I gnawed at my father's leash. First up, Adam Horvath. Or once more, please. Horvath. Okay.
Okay. Hi everyone. Is that good?
Yes.
Okay. So I had timed myself to clock in at 4 minutes and 36 seconds. I'm not sure I can get it down to 3, but I'll do my best. I'll read quickly. First poem is called The Sponge and the Sieve. The sponge knows the Gettysburg Address, the names of all the state capitals, the value of pi to a dozen decimal places, all of the Nobel laureates in chemistry, the dates of the Punic Wars, and his kindergarten teacher's name. The sieve has forgotten everything he ever learned. 3 short poems about domestic relations. The first is called The Orca in the Bed. It's like having an orca in the bed, my wife declared, as I tossed and turned, struggling to find a comfortable position. I didn't bother to reply, but with a meaningful flick of my tail fin as I dove under the covers, I flung a gentle splash of salt water in her direction. The next one's called The Indictment, also domestic relations. Convinced that I had behaved unbecomingly toward her in her dream last night, she confronted me about it when she awoke this morning. Brushing aside my protestations of innocence, she judged me insufficiently remorseful and refused to speak to me all day. Again, domestic relations. Stolen kisses. We shared a cup of coffee this morning. You drank your half first, then handed me the cup. I saw that you had left the imprint of your lips emblazoned on its white rim. A bright red bird, wings spread wide in flight. Each time I sipped, I was careful to press my lips just where yours had been to steal a kiss. Cause for alarm, or cause for alarm, that's a question. Should I have been alarmed or merely amused when I came home earlier than usual last night and discovered my philodendron perched in front of the TV watching a rerun of Little Shop of Horrors? Obad. Obad, going back to the Middle Ages, is a traditional title for a song or poem celebrating dawn. The sun poked its head up impishly over the horizon, peering around to see if anyone was looking, then sprung a few feet up into the air, Jack in the boxer slee, clicked its heels smartly, and shouted, "Here I am, folks, back again by popular demand." At this, birds began chirping wildly, all over the place, like a chorus gone bananas. A row of tulips swayed to and fro and kicked up their skirts like chorus girls in the Folie Bergère. Far below ground, a couple of earthworms could tell the sun was up, even though they couldn't see a blessed thing, and wriggled around doing a kind of wormy samba in their subterranean dance hall. And what about us? We've not a moment to lose. Let's get with the program. Scooch on over here, baby, and give us a smooch, because it's morning. Thank you.
Next up, Bob Nordstrom.
That's great. Oh, and the readers were great today. I really enjoyed them. Thank you, you guys. Years ago, or some years back, my wife and I would wake up like 5 a.m. in the morning and turn on the television. Now we wake up at 2 or 3 because we're a few years older. But in the reruns of the Waltons and sometimes Gunsmoke would be on. So the title of this poem is John Boy, Marshall Dillon, and My Aging Prostate. There are worse ways to start the day than watching John Boy's pursuit of excellence up there on Walton Mountain. Or Marshall Dillon, almost zen-like in his emotional restraint, mete out even-handed justice to the most hardened and uncivil of outlaws. Such is the blessing of an aging prostate nudging a swollen bladder into a 5 a.m. wake-up call. I could turn to CNN to find out what happened in the light while I rummaged through the night, but knowing what the Nikkei did would surely spoil the surprise of what the Tao will do. Besides, at this time of day, at this point in my life, I am more interested in moral guidance than portfolio prognostications. Not that I don't have my own advice to offer. John Boy, word to the wise, keep an eye on that blemish on your cheek, but don't have it removed unless, well, you know, it turns on you in your later years. And Matt, for God's sakes, man, Kitty, the woman wants you. She deserves a little more than small talk over whiskey neat or dinner for 4 with Doc and Festus. Before you know it, it's 7 a.m., wife's out of the shower, naked, looking better than Kitty herself in front of the makeup mirror. She flips the channel to Today, and I'm forced to watch the other Matt describe breaking news carnage. 22 dead, 13 of them kids, in some unpronounceable part of the world. then segue seamlessly into Big Al's big toothy smile and what's happening in my neck of the woods. What's happening is my legs slipping over the side of the bed, foot touching the cool wood floor, right arm pushing the torso into an upright position to greet the day. What's happening is Bon Jovi preparing to rock my morning from the square just outside the NBC studios. What's happening is I flick off the TV and stare at the black screen announcing, finally, the dead are dead, without justice, without opportunity to pursue excellence today.
Wow.
Thank you.
Next up, Theo.
Yay!
Cruz. Shoot. All right.
Thank you. Just want to mention real quick that I will be a featured reader next month here, and I'll be reading from my soon-to-be released book. It'll be later this month. It should be on Amazon by next month. I've decided this will be the place where I first read from it next month. Excuse me, I also have some flyers back there. I'm performing. I'm an author, novelist, songwriter, and poet, and so I have some flyers back there. I'll be performing Friday. You know, this is real odd without a piano or a guitar in front of me. I'm not used to this, but I will read a couple things. I want to thank Stephen and Charles for this. And I want to say this one's for Charles because I'm going to do a song. I'm going to read the poem out of the song. And it's about wolves, and it's about those fears and insecurities that keep us up at night. And it's called Sometimes the Wolves Are Silent. Verse, chorus, verse 1. I listen to the howl, at the baying at the moon. Suddenly, somehow, I've been singing that tune, but sometimes the wolves are silent. 2. I've been looking in the mirror at the danger and the fear. I can't help but stare because there's a stranger in there, but sometimes the wolves are silent. Bridge. Sometimes I get so lost in shame because when I listen to my song and all my inspiration and my pain read like graffiti on the bathroom wall. Stall. 3. There's an itching in my heart that I don't know how to scratch, a torch in the dark, but I ain't got a match. But sometimes the wolves are silent. Sometimes the wolves are silent. And that's the first one. Thank you. This next one, I'm going to start out the show I do on Friday with this one. It's called Pull Me From the Rubble. It has great piano licks in it. Pull me from the rubble. 1. Sometimes I don't know you, we're strangers when we kiss. We both want something different, but we're settling for this. Vulnerable, like lame game on the open plain, like babies in the jungle. Come on, pull me from the rubble. 2. I just can't believe this loneliness we share. We're lonely when we're on our own, and we're lonely as a pair. And lonely is as lonely does. It's like living in a bubble. Come on, pull me from the rubble. Bridge. And waking is the hardest part to do. You know it's true. When someone you don't love lies next to you. 3. Believing astrological myths, we've been blinded by the prayer. The laughs are superficial and the tears are just hot air. There's no blame and there's no shame. Don't even take the trouble. Come on, pull me from the rubble. I'm to my neck in this emptiness, so bring along your shovel. Come on, pull me from the rubble. That's it.
Yeah.
Anytime you want to bring song lyrics, it's fine by me. All right, next up, Eric Muller.
I'm going to read you 2 really great poems, and I can say that because they're not mine. And I was hoping that Charles would read a new poem that he shared with me about a spider. So these are 2 spider poems. And I'll let you guess who wrote them. And I'm sure Paul will know, having been an English teacher for umpteen centuries. A noiseless, patient spider I marked where on a little promontory it stood isolated, marked how to explore the vacant vast surrounding, it launched forth filament, filament, filament out of itself, ever unreeling them, ever tirelessly speeding them. And you, O my soul, where you stand, surrounded, detached, in measureless oceans of space, ceaselessly musing, venturing, throwing, seeking the spheres to connect them, till the bridge you will need be formed, till the ductile anchor hold, till the gossamer thread you fling, catch somewhere, oh my soul. Anybody?
Robert Burns?
Walt Whitman. Yeah. And if you don't know that poem, you probably don't know a lot of other really terrific poems by Walt Whitman. It's Poetry Month, so I'm taking a little liberty here. Here's another spider poem. And it's a little denser in a way. There's a reference to the flower heel-all, which is usually blue. There are three characters in this. There's a spider, a moth, and the flower. And all of these are white. And that's what makes the kind of ominous quality that's developed in this poem. And you can tell me also, once you've identified the author, what form it is. Okay? Poetry Month. I found a dimpled spider, fat and white, on a white heel-all, holding up a moth like a white piece of rigid satin cloth. Assorted characters of death and blight, mixed ready to begin the morning rite. Like the ingredients of a witch's broth, a snowdrop spider, a flower like a froth, and dead wings carried like a paper kite. What had the flower to do with being white, the wayside blue, and innocent heel-all? What brought the kindred spider to that height, then steered the white moth thither in the night? What but design of darkness to appall, if design govern in a thing so small? Ding ding. Any takers? Robert Frost. Form? Short. Sonnet. He's one of the great sonnet writers. Thank you very much.
So, just a moment before we bring up our next reader, I'd like to introduce this person as version 1.0 and fully expect the next time we see him here that we will have a better, more lasting version 2.0. Please, Joshua Mertz.
Thank you so much, Charles. Yeah, they're going to be working on me here a bit, and it's amazing how many people have asked to have the pun gland removed. Not gonna happen. Okay, I haven't written a lot of poetry lately. I'm working on a long form piece, but I thought I'd bring up some of the golden oldies here. If you've heard this before, pretend you haven't. This is called Lesson for the Day, A Jar of Honey. Stuck closed, unopened. I grab the lid and twist. I take a deep breath and grab the lid and twist. No, I take the lid in my hand, plant my feet apart, take a full, deep breath and twist. Still nothing. I heat the lid under running water, then molest it with towels. No go. Perplexed, I wander into the living room and give it another twist and another. You or me, babe, again and again and again, the untapped rock-tight lid and I exchange unmoving passion in isometric grappling again and again. Like all spells, it must break, and it does. A small sliding, subtle, like a turn of phrase. Then the lid is off and the spoon is in the honey and the chamomile tea. Perseverance furthers. And this was written, God, back when I lived in Santa Cruz. It's called, and this is kind of an homage to spring. We're, with the Seder, with Easter coming up, with spring in the air, we're leaving winter behind, but it hasn't quite left us yet. So, Tai Chi in snowshoes. Tai Chi in snowshoes comes on when my flaming arrows do not fire, when too many ball bearings escape from my skateboard, when my fragile flower storms delicately through the thoughtless concrete to find itself in something the dog left behind. In these bleak moments, underscored with the thin gray laughter of the cosmically humorous, I feel a need to collapse, and simultaneously feel that all movement has intonations of order. So this flamed out, wobbly flower becomes Tai Chi in snowshoes, and I move into the ordered movements as if for the first time. Tai Chi in snowshoes. There is no snow. There are no snowshoes. There isn't even any winter. There's only Tai Chi. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. Next up, Elizabeth.
Testing. This is entitled May. Thank you for the glasses, Cherie. If I may start out by saying, April showers bring May flowers. May I continue? I may have the answer to that. May all your dreams come true. May he rest in peace. How may I help you? It may be too late. Mayday, Mayday. Your Honor, may I approach the bench? It may just rain after all. You may sit down now. I may or I may not go. May I have this dance? May the road rise to meet you. I may not make it home in time. My name is May. I was born in May. My parents may not have been very original in naming me May. You may be wrong about that. Actually, I think I wrote, you may be right about that. I scratched out the wrong. Let's play Mother May I. You may not like the answer. My son was born on May 8th, 1987. May I sit here? Don't walk in front of me. I may not follow. Don't walk behind me. I may not lead. May the force be with you. You may want to rethink that. It may not matter at all. Memorial Day is on May 27th this year. May you live to see your children's children. May I offer you some advice? No, you may not. I may be wrong, but I don't think so. We may need to talk about that. You never know what tomorrow may bring. I may need to wrap this up, so I will end with this quote, if I may. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be understood as to understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Jules, come get it.
We're going to be continuing the May Fest here. This is May West. And I read a song lyrics last time called Be Kind to a Stranger in Town from an obscure, unknown movie called The Heat Is On. And I was really surprised to find that Mae West is actually a poet. And she prologued the movie with this poem. Remember me kindly for just a brief moment when April comes around again with its blue skies and sudden showers. Remember that April woman who drifts into your life as casual as a summer cloud drifts over a green field with its shadow and then drifts away into time. Here's a quote by Mae West. I wasn't always rich and glamorous. Why, I can remember a time when I did not know where my next man was coming from. April Love is an old movie starring Pat Boone, and this is the song lyrics to the movie, 1957. Has anybody here seen April? April, dressed in her gown of green, she walks in a land of enchantment where no one grows older than 17. April Love is for the very young. Every star is a wishing star that shines for you. April Love is all the 7 wonders. One little kiss can tell you this is true. Sometimes an April day will suddenly bring showers, rain to grow the flowers for her first bouquet. But April Love can slip right through your fingers, so if she's the one, don't let her run away.
Jules, was it Mae West who said, is that a poem in your pocket, or are you happy to see me?
I think it was.
Probably.
Sherry Rose.
There we go. Giedovich, good afternoon to you, and welcome. My name is Sherry Rose. I'm the sweet Irish lass with a side of sass and a whole lot of class. And I have been told by the fairies that I'm supposed to sing my poetry, which is not my comfort zone. But number 8 is my challenge number. And I had done a 5-minute piece, and all of a sudden it's like, no, you're going to do 3 minutes. So I'm going to just pare this right down. Okay. So I'm following the winds of change right now. And when I went outside to get some water, I noticed that the winds were blowing. And thank you to my spirit sister for giving me the courage to come here, because she's the one that introduced me, and to sing this song from my upcoming collection called Ode to the Wild Celtic Spirit. I don't know when it's going to be finished, but this is called Ode to the Wild Winds. So here we go. Oh, and the O'Connor name, by the way, it means wolf lover. So for all you wolf lovers, thank you so much. I'd howl right now if I could, but I'm going to sing instead. Amazing winds, how sweet your sound that saved a girl like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, and your love set me free. The wind is beating at my door, can't ignore her anymore. Been living with this pain inside, this happy marriage just a lie. And all I wanna do is fly. All I wanna do is fly. I wanna fly like the eagle, spread my massive wings, soar above the sacred earth and the hopefulness she brings. I wanna roll like the tiger, let my voice be heard, sing a happy love song like the joyful hummingbird. The wind is howling strong and proud. I'm tired of this plastic crowd. Been living with this fear inside, but I no longer want to hide. Too many parts of me have died, and now I've found my wings. The caged bird sings, she wants to fly like the eagle, spread her massive wings, soar above the sacred earth and the hopefulness she brings. She wants to roar like the tiger, let her voice be heard, sing a happy love song like the joyful hummingbird. There's a third verse, but I'm going to cut it short there. It's about letting go of my house, which is in process, meaning I am literally following the wild winds because I have no idea where I'm going to land. But my friend Elizabeth has told me that I can always sleep at her place if I need to. So I want to thank you all so much. And once I let go of my house, then I can sing the third verse because that's my safe place, and it's the only safe place I've ever really lived. So it's really important that I let go of it so I can follow the wild wind. So thank y'all so much for listening. I really am an Irish American, and I really appreciate your time. And now I yield to number 9, I believe.
Come back and read it and sing the rest. Michael Walrich, you're up. And I'm going to raise that mic. We'll compromise, okay?
Okay, this is called the Bluest of Blue Laws. I put it together this morning about midnight, so. In the category of blue laws, here are the 5 runner-ups and the winner. In Kentucky, it is against the law for a man to marry his wife's grandmother. They drank a lot of whiskey in Kentucky. In Connecticut, in the 17th century, a person could receive the death penalty for sassing his or her parents.
I grew up there, I can vouch for that.
You were a teenager. If a person is caught stealing soap in Mojave County, Arizona, he must wash with it until it is all used up. Like I've always said, if you're going to steal soap, just steal a little bit. In Michigan, a woman is not allowed to lift her skirt more than 6 inches above her ankles when she is stepping over mud puddles. Oh, those blessed ankles. In Cold Springs, in Pennsylvania, liquor can be sold to a married man, but only with the written permission of his wife. We should bring that one back, I think. And the winner is the 1933 Mississippi Law Regulation 11.61 says it is a misdemeanor punishable by $500 fine or 6 months in prison for any person, corporation, organization to teach, promulgate, promote, or in any other way disseminate the idea of social equality between the races. Wow. I could not find anyone to tell me the fate of this Mississippi law. I fear they have let it escape to lurk in the blue shadows forever. This, the bluest of the blue laws. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Shirley Mark.
It's short enough. These are 2 poems I wrote that are very unlike what I normally write. So we'll see how it goes. It's going down. I'm not that short. Do you remember? Do I remember? What did you say? What did I hear? A ghost in the washing machine? Or a host of Washington schemes? Did it matter? Does it now? The winding roads of memories. You said that. I remember it differently. Does ego remember? Or love that forgives, forgets, transforms yesterdays with a new look, a happy smile that is a simile a radical turnaround, a clown face, not a frown. And I wrote this one after a really bad day on the highway. Traffic miasma, honking, swerving, swearing, gesturing, road rage puzzle, moving along like a raging river, filled with mud and debris, a recent flood. A flood of ideas gone terribly wrong from the left, the right. Is there a middle? How to escape this boisterous insanity? At the next exit, drive east. Find a gravel road into the mountains where all is quiet unless it is hunting season. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Next up, Eileen Dawson Peterson.
I call this poem Every Once in a While. Every once in a while, when the air gets that certain crispness and the leaves on the maples have turned color, begin to fall, when it feels like there is snow in the air, she will remember a ruggedly handsome farm boy who had a not-so-sterling reputation, who kissed her like no one else ever had, whose hands went where they shouldn't. The boy her father finally forbade her to see. She remembers the day years later. She read his obituary in her hometown paper. Complications of diabetes and alcoholism. He was 32. Papa, she mused, had been right. It surprises her that after all the years, her heart still thumps so at the memory of his kiss. And this one is, Do You Know I Love You? Do you know I love you madly, holding you in my arms, stroking your brow, kissing your eyelids, breathing in the scent of you, the touch of your skin against mine, ecstasy. As precious as pure gold is the caress of your tiny fingers on my cheek.
Thank you, Eileen. So we're down to, we still have several to go, and we're at 5 o'clock, so we're going to keep going. All right. Cindy Scher.
A little bit higher than that. I'm shrinking, it's true. It's okay. I wrote this one about 40 years ago, and then I'll read a brand new one that I will be really bad because I just wrote it this morning. But anyway, 40 years ago I wrote this, and somebody told me it was really trite, so I never looked at it again. But I like it. It's called The Shores of Lake Erie, 1980. Chased by the first of the northwest winds and blessed with the last of the summer suns, my daughter and I took the lake in our hands and ears and squinting eyes and sailed it far beyond the boats we do not own. And when we touched the shore again, she gathered in her perfect hands the smoothest stones of memory, warmed by sun and moon and stars, and so carefully tucked them in my empty pockets. Oh, wow. See, you got that. And he never wrote a poem, so screw it. Anyway, let's go get it. Family friendly. Okay, I just wrote this morning. I had this epiphany walking by the ponds in January. You know, you're walking with your head down because it's January. I mean, you know, nothing's out there, no green, no fun. And then I started seeing this structure all the trees and the framework of the world. And I thought, I gotta write that, I've gotta write that. So 4 months later, I finally sat down this morning and said, just write this, just write it. It won't do it justice, though, because epiphanies are like, whoa! And this isn't quite like that. Walking through January, each footfall meets hard ground. No winter wind to ripple the black pond. This world barely breathes. No geese squabbling, no scolding crow or sparrow song. All is silent, and no place for those like me who long for earth to bellow out summer's madness. The only sound now, my own deep sigh of disappointment. Have you heard it? Have you heard its echo here, where nothing but bare trees and rigid sticks line the skeleton trail, where brittle flesh of summer dangles from saplings' outstretched arms? This faithful framework holds up the world and stands guard over winter, while beneath the mud summer lies murmuring carelessly in her sleep.
Brian Salisbury, you are up.
Hello. I cut this down to one poem that opens with a quote from Hakim Sanai, which is in Shape of Water, which is the love story involving a fish monster and a young lady. Ted Cruz's parents. My Chutzpah award for 2016 was a guy at a big thing for Ted Cruz, and he puts his hand up and he says, "You're a fish monster and a bad person." That's the word. Anyway, okay, because he looked like a blobfish. He always had this bug-eyed look with a big frown. Anyway, I am everywhere. Unable to perceive the shape of you, I find you all around me. Your presence fills my eyes with your love. It humbles my heart, for you are everywhere. Hakim Sanai. My mind is in everyone, undying, yet I feel everything. Every time everybody dies, my baseline state is joy, but I mourn them all the time. I know we've all got dead people. I'm in them too. Agnostic. I channel Camus. I exist, I stand, object, I demand. I protest, I live. Pacifist, I give. It can be upsetting. Cassandra syndrome, precognitive, unheard. I warn, I burn, at every turn with no desire, yet I'm fire. I dissolve in a sea of souls. Who am I to give up all my goals? Like a puppy, I look forward to everything, dangled over my head like a treat, yet I see forward to sadness and nothing. Patooey, it's just a lima bean.
So we're going to move out of our regular open mic, and I want to thank you for coming. And next up is Stephen, and he's going to lead us into our features coming back up, and we'll be done. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so just two recent pieces that I just wrote in the last few weeks. Traces of her, locked in the memories of your mind, sometimes sparked by a slight smell or a soft breeze blowing through your day, makes you ponder, stopped in your tracks, living it once again in this moment. Color breathing. Color breathing. When I breathe, colors come out of my mouth. Not always. And I learned how to control it. I discovered it when I was a boy. I was out in the field playing one day, and I went into the garden. All the flowers were in bloom, different colored flowers. When I went up close to smell them, each of them, suddenly I could see faint colors coming out of my mouth as I breathed. I discovered I could control it. It was more like a thought process. As I thought about colors, I could breathe them. But if I didn't want to, I didn't breathe them. The colors would not come out. Only if I wanted them in my mind. I was scared because I didn't want other people to see this. I thought it was strange. I thought there was something wrong with me, some kind of sickness or affliction. Anyway, I hid it well. One day, later in life, I was at a showing of a friend's art at a local gallery, and he was doing some work, and some people were bothering him. So I put up like a wall barrier in front of the doorway to keep people out, to give him privacy and quiet, to allow him to do his work. Meanwhile, he had given me a sketchbook of some of his drawings to look at. I sat and began looking through it, and as I did, I got to some blank pages, and suddenly, as I breathed, my colors came out, and they went right onto the page and stuck. And it became a painting, almost instantaneously. An abstract but beautiful painting that was mesmerizing to me, myself. And it was unconscious. I wasn't trying to breathe the colors in my mind, as I normally did. It was just pouring out. So I tried a couple more, and pretty soon, in about 10 minutes, I had created like 5 or 6 wonderful paintings. So I showed them to my friend, and he said, "Where did these come from?" And so I just told him about my secret. He was the first person I had ever told. I told him of my secret ability to breathe color. He didn't know what to think. He thought it was quite astonishing. Thank you. And so, with that, I would like to bring up each of our featured readers for just a couple more minutes. And do you have a preference? Who wants to go first?
I'll go, I guess.
Okay, Sabena Stark.
Thank you all again. Just going to read a couple of short poems. This one's called Composer. These black dots on white paper hold such pain, joy, longing. Nothing in spoken language can speak. The black dots, like tiny islands in a sea of blood. What is floating there? I follow them to find my way, yet they are anchors, stones tossed across a lifetime, tears that never dry. These black dots, gray circles, pencil smears on a lined canvas, rows and bridges, tiny ladders of lattice work, weighted with overgrown, overripe fruit, climbing from my heart to God's. And those spindly stems and flags, the hooks that cling to the muscle, and my anguish, my terror, humble gifts, back to the mother in rhythm she speaks, up, down, they mark the trail with streams of tears. Dangling in deliberate pattern, thin wire threads suspending my fragile, unnameable dreams. Black dots on a striped banner of staves, welcome home, lost traveler. Here's the way to where I am, where I've been. Here's all the suffering I've ever known, and all the peace I'll ever get. Here's a moment of my life, and every moment of my life. Here's a moment, a black dot in time, a tiny floating black dot, a dot. And this is a piece that I wrote for Ofra Haza. Ofra Haza, blessed memory, was a singer and an actor. She was a national treasure of Israel, was beloved as a singer and actor throughout the Middle East. Her family emigrated from Yemen, and she was born the youngest of 9 kids in a very poor neighborhood in Tel Aviv. And she died quite young at the age of 42. Her voice was very, very moving, and she had a deep love of her Yemenite history, and it was very evocative to hear her sing. And I'm referencing a prayer in Aramaic called Rachamana, and what it says in English is, "Compassionate one who answers the poor, answer us. Merciful one who answers the utterances of the heart, answer us." She sings my body full with prayer. Rachamana, merciful one, a trumpet burst from nowhere and suddenly everywhere, lightning across a field of dust. Rachamana, compassionate one, like dark smoke, her voice curls skyward, then descends as droplets after thunder. I inhale her lament. Rachamana, answer us. She sings my body full with prayer. I remember that once my name was Esperanza, hope of Jewish Spain, as we fled with our music to gather strength for the next betrayal, and my hands tremble. But no angel comes to caution me. Each new phrase, a door quakes open to a chorus of desert stars where I am lost, and we were all lost, in North African twilight, along dry wadis of Yemen, hugging the ancient walls in midnight blue of Morocco, sewn into the cloth of Tunis, the songs we composed. Rachamana, the wail of our people trapped by murderous riots, now distant as 1,000 flapping wings. Rachamana, compassionate one who answers the brokenhearted. And I weep too, for the soul of this music that traveled so far to touch me, beseeching the eternal for protection. And her voice breaks me into fragments. The prayer that spills reckless from her tongue wrenches me from forgetting. Voice of our unvanquished souls, if only our prayers could reach you. Thanks.
Sabena Stark. And now Paul Halupa will close things out for us. Thanks so much, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you, Sabena.
But it's lunchtime, Mr. Halupa. We gotta go.
Yeah, me too. That's why I'll try to keep this very brief. There's a hillside very dear to me in northeastern Washington, central North Washington, not terribly far from the Grand Coulee. Downstream from Grand Coulee, a handful of miles, is where Chief Joseph the Younger is buried on in a churchyard behind a church, on a little hillside. And I have been there a number of times, drug family there a number of times, and written a number of poems from that site. And this one is called To West the Hills Rise, and it's for Chief Joseph, of course. To west the hills rise, the sloping promise of mountains. Do you remember the Wallowas, green pastures of melting snow? Or are they just dreams of a dream grow dim in the light you breathe? A grave site in Nespelem names you, a white stone erected beside a withered juniper. Blue beads laid atop gravel sparkle beneath a dying sun. I listen to restless birds and crickets and wind chimes. The wind moves, blows thoughts across a thin June sky. You do not rest here. The trinkets and a flag mark memory, not a man. One does not lie here in Nespelem and stride mountains through Oregon sunlight. I know where you are. Be strong. Navy folks, Navy personnel, Navy families have a beautiful way of wishing each other good fortune whenever a goodbye is imminent. I can't do much better. I can't do any better. So before my last reading, let me wish you fair winds and following seas. And thank you for attending today and listening kindly. The last poem takes us back to where we started in Winthrop, Washington, little tiny Winthrop, where the Chugach and Mattow rivers meet and merge. And this is just downstream from that first poem I wrote where I said, find me. That's where I was. This is just downstream. The Chewuk bends around a turn, meets the Matau, and this poem is entitled Moments on the Matau. Let this be my departing word and well wishes. Tall grasses lean inside cooling winds. Less than 5 steps away, the Matau passes in a midsummer's parade. Quiescent as shy forget-me-nots, serene as any winter's snowfall, while time, asleep in its dusky light, nods into soft slumber and makes way for sheens of waking stars to rise above these already dreaming trees. A doe ambles to stream, sips nectar from sacred waters, her ears lower. A fawn, eyes bright in curiosities, drinks beside her, turns a demure head inside a contentment I can't explain. This is how things were, I think to myself, in that time before all things were disturbed. How they will be again, in time distant as the undergleam of that last high cloud. Unnoticed, the deer have slipped away. A bird sweeps in a twilight spiral, stalls, then lifts into the indefinable. Silence comes, winds stir, a river calls. Thank you, folks.
Wow, what can I say? Paul Halupa, Sabena Stark. I want to thank everybody, all our readers today. Another wonderful reading. We had a great time. And hope you'll join us again next month. Remember, we are here on the second Sunday of each month, 3 to 5 p.m. So we hope you join us next month when our featured readers will be Theo Zook, Theo right there, and Tom Titus. So information about them and their reading next month is on the back of the flyer. So pick one up. Thank you all so much.
Lift your